welcome to another episode of Cooking with Kimmy. Today we're gonna be making birria tacos. So today we're gonna make an extremely not traditional version of the tacos you've been seeing all over your Instagram feeds and your TikToks with ingredients you can find here in Manila. And we're also gonna link you in the article to places where you can buy some specialty Mexican ingredients. So if you're interested in that, check that out here. So a birria taco is traditionally made out of goat meat. It's stewed in a chili sauce and then it can be served as is with the consomme or the beef broth that is flavored with the chili paste, or in tacos. Today we're making birria de res, which means, gosh, my pronunciation is so bad. Birria de res, which just means beef. So we're gonna be making the birria with beef instead of goat today. So I'll show you guys how to do all this stuff. Like always, I mean, why else are we here? Okay, let's go. So first, I'm gonna start with our meat. Here I have an X amount of beef with ingredients and all the measurements will obviously be down below as always. You want to use beef that's good for stewing, so you can use oxtail or short ribs or even chuck or brisket, which I have here. You want to make sure that your meat has some fat because that's gonna give us the oil that we're gonna dip our tortillas in later. Heat up some oil, and the first thing we're gonna do is brown our meat. So what's gonna happen here is that we're gonna get a lot of flavor from the browning. It's not really a necessary step. You could always just throw this in and begin boiling it. But I like to do this just to add more flavor. So I'm gonna do about half of this in batches just to build up some brown bits underneath the pot that we can scrape up and use to flavor our chili. So when your oil is hot, you're just gonna put your meat down in one layer, and that's what's gonna build that, like all the brown bits or the fond underneath the pot. Because this is gonna stew for such a long time, you actually don't need to fully brown all the meat or all the sides of the meat. We're just looking for one layer of fond to flavor our soup. So as you can see here, I've browned about half the meat and I've already gotten a lot of fond underneath the pot. So I'm gonna stop here and then I'm gonna add all the meat back in. And you wanna make sure you add any juice that's also kind of accumulated from the meat. And with that, I'm also gonna add the rest of our meat in. So as you can see, this makes a lot. You can always half the recipe, but it also freezes and keeps pretty well. And it is one of those things that tastes better a day or two after. Here I have a quartered onion, 4 large cloves of garlic, and 4 bay leaves. And I'm just gonna add that in there. And then a lot of salt. This is about a tablespoon and a half. And then you're just gonna cover this with water and you're gonna put it on high. So we're gonna let the beef come up to a boil and we're just gonna let that cook for about an hour while we make our chili paste. So you just wanna stir it every once in a while. Make sure the beef is submerged in water. If it starts to evaporate too much, you can add more in. You wanna make sure to scrape it really well so that all the brown bits that we formed while searing the beef can come up into the broth, into the liquid. If you Google recipes for birria tacos, you'll find a ton of different variations, but most traditionally you'll find a combination of 3 chilies: guajillo peppers, ancho chilies, and chili de árbol. Correct. So these are dried chilies that you cook and boil in water until they're softened and blend. Unfortunately, in Manila, it's very hard to find these dried chilies. If you want to buy those chilies, we'll give you guys some links in the article of where you can do that. But here I just have some swaps of things that are a little bit easier to find. So here I have chili de, what is it?
Árbol.
Chili de árbol, which is I think the spicier of the 3 chilies. But here you can also use the dried chilies that you find in the regular supermarkets. So I'm just gonna start those in a pan and cover them with about 1.5 cups of water. And then we're just gonna bring that to a boil and cook it until the chilies have softened. And because they're so small, it won't take much time at all, about 10 to 15 minutes. Instead of ancho chili, you can use chili powder. You can use regular chili powder, which is different from cayenne pepper. So that is not a one-to-one substitute because cayenne pepper is really spicy. But chili powder is like a blend of dried chilies that's more smoky than it is spicy. And that would work as a substitute here, where I have 5 tablespoons of ancho chili powder. And here I have kind of what's gonna be the base for our birria. It's not, again, it's not traditional, but it is something that you can easily find here in Manila, which is whole chipotle peppers and adobo sauce. What's great about this is instead of starting from the dried chili peppers or starting from scratch, these already have so much flavor in the adobo sauce that they're packed in. So you don't really have to do too much. So here I have the 3 chilies that have been softening. So I'm just gonna take them out and put them in to our blender. And then I'm going to put 2 cans of our chipotle and adobo. So here you have your whole packed chilies. I'm gonna put the juice, the sauce, and the peppers of 1 can, and then just the peppers of another can. So there I'm gonna add our chili powder, our white onion, another white onion, 6 more cloves of garlic. Then here I have some oregano, thyme, and cumin, about a tablespoon of each. The spices here you could actually put straight into the pot, but I like to blend them all in the chili paste. That way it incorporates a lot easier when you pour it into the pot. So 2 beef bouillon cubes. If you didn't want to use these, you could just add more salt, but it lends a lot of flavor. You could even use chicken if that's all you have. And then all the liquid that you put the chilies in. And then here you could also add a teaspoon of cinnamon if you have it. Here I have a cinnamon stick, so I'm not gonna put that in the blender. I'm just gonna throw it in with the chili paste later on. You're gonna blend this until it's completely smooth. So you can just let it go for like a minute or 2. So once this is completely smooth, we're gonna add it into our beef, but after the first hour is over. Here we have our beef that's been going for about an hour now. As you can see, the broth or the water has turned into this like nice dark broth, and that really gets a lot of help from the beef that we seared earlier on. I'll just give it a stir. I already put the cinnamon stick in there. We're gonna add in all of our chili paste. Okay, and then we're just gonna stir this in. I'm gonna put the cover more than halfway on, but not completely closed. You want to allow some steam to escape. And I'm just gonna let this cook for another hour or hour and a half until the beef is completely tender. So our birria has been cooking for a total of 2.5 hours now. So you want your meat to be fork tender. So at this point, you want to remove any bay leaves and the cinnamon stick that you put in there. And then you're going to take out your meat and shred it. I like to do not so finely shredded. I still like some chunks of meat in there. But you want to remove it from the sauce and transfer it into a container and just shred it with a fork. And because it's been cooking for so long, it should shred really easily. So here we have our meat for our birria. As you can see, it's so soft because it took 2.5 hours to cook that you could really just shred it with a wooden spoon. Here we have our, what they call a consomme or the broth, which is the remaining liquid from where we cooked the beef. You can see there's a nice layer of like red, oily fat from the oil that we used to sear the beef in and from the beef itself. And that's really gonna lend a lot of flavor and help us crisp up our tortillas and get that kind of signature red birria. So there's different ways to serve this. Of course, the most popular way is a birria queso taco. So it's a taco or a corn tortilla. Here I have some of them just softened under a heated towel. But of course, you can do a quesadilla. So just a bigger version with tortillas that you can easily find in the grocery store. We're gonna do the tacos today, but for the steps for the quesadilla are exactly the same. Another popular way to serve this is just straight into a bowl. What you do is you just get some of the shredded meat, and then you ladle on some of the broth. And then the most common toppings here are cilantro and white onion. And you can serve it just like this with the tortillas on the side. So here is our birria de res, and we'll show you how to make the queso taco. So for our queso taco, we're gonna be using mozzarella cheese. Traditionally, you use Oaxaca cheese, which I could not find at all here. But mozzarella cheese or Monterey Jack is a perfectly fine substitute. So here we have our skillet, and I'm just gonna turn it over medium heat. You're gonna take your tortilla, and what you're gonna do is dip it into the broth. And then what this does is it coats the tortilla in the fat on top of the broth as well as in the broth. And it really flavors it and gives you that signature like red look. You wanna be very careful when you do this because it still is hot. Then you're gonna just put it straight onto the skillet. So while that is crisping up on that side, you're just gonna put cheese on half of your tortilla, followed by some of the shredded meat. And you can leave it at that, but I also still like to put onions and cilantro inside. And then a little bit more cheese on top just to act as glue. And you'll take the taco and fold it over. And you're just gonna cook this until it's crispy on the one side, and then you'll flip it over and cook until it's crispy on the other side. So while that's crisping up, I'm just going to serve or ladle up some of the broth in a bowl on the side. And here you can dip your tacos in while you eat them. And it's also great to top this broth off with more onions and more cilantro. Yes. And you can just see that it's getting brown. You can hear that it's crispy. So here we have our birria tacos. Here are the queso tacos, and here is the birria served in a bowl where you can serve your tortillas and everything on the side. And to eat these, you just dip them in the broth, and you see that the beef is nice and juicy, and the broth is spicy and thick but has that nice layer of oil. Oh my god. It's so good. Okay, we hope you guys make this at home. It took a really long time, but it's super worth it. Again, it's not that authentic, but we hope that we showed you can make these with ingredients that you can find right here in Manila. Again, for all the info, you can check our website and all the links. Click the notification bell for more videos. Like and subscribe if you want to see more international dishes being made with ingredients you can easily find in the Philippines. I hope you like this video. I liked it very much because I get to eat this. Goodbye and see you next time! Time to dance to my Latin pop playlist.